With Atlanta native Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome again to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and my co-host. And I tell you, my co-host is something else. His name is Shanan E. Jones. How you doing, Big Papa?
I'm doing all right, Bishop. How you doing?
Big Papa, if I was doing any better, man, Big Papa, I'm doing swell. I'm doing great tonight. I'm doing great.
All right, you be Greg Fann if you're doing any better.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you know it. You guys had a great forum this past week over CBC too. We brought over candidates and different individuals that came over to the CBC, and we invite and encourage people to join CBC and participate on Monday mornings. Come to the forums. And Shanan is the president. Come to the forums or get connected via Zoom. And I'm sure he'll be able to share that with you. You want to share that right now, Shanan, and then we'll move on to Miss C.
Yeah, we certainly want you to be with us. And we actually meet at 838 Cascade Avenue, Atlanta, 30311. We'd love for you to come by at 11 o'clock at the Vickers Community Center. Or you can connect with us by going to Facebook, Concerned Black Clergy. On Facebook, and we're also at Concerned Black Clergy on YouTube as well. But I'd love to see your face in the place. Come by 838 Cascade Avenue in the tail end of the Cascade area, moving into, I guess that would be the West End area of Atlanta.
Yeah,
Bishop.
Right at Beecher Street. Right. In between, before you get to the John and White Park. Yeah, before you get to the
That's
park.
right. That's right. So I'd love for you to come and to be with us on this last week. We did have candidates, and we got several candidates that are coming now. As you know, there's a November election. See, everybody looking at all this 2024 stuff. There's the elections happening right here, and we got municipal elections coming up right here in November. So we're hearing from them, and also the case of Deacon Holloman, who was in the custody of the Atlanta police when he was killed, lost his life. It was a traffic stop. The officer wanted him to sign a ticket, and he did not want to sign the ticket. The officer said to him that he was going to sign a ticket to go to jail. He called for a sergeant. The sergeant didn't come. The officer didn't do what he asked him to do. One thing led to another. The officer told him that his signature was going to be on the bond. I guess he had watched The Godfather one too many times, and he grabbed him and put him in a headlock. And the old deacon said to him, "I'm an old man, and you're doing this to me." And he died at the scene. So we're calling for the video, APP, to release the full video, not just the little 5-minute clip, but the full video of everything that happened, so that we can see a greater transparency as to what happened on that evening. So we dealt with that. We're going to be dealing with that every Monday until we see justice roll down on this issue. Thank you, Bishop.
You're more than welcome, but I just want to add something. Yesterday, the officer was a 23-year-old black male.
Yes, he was.
That shows the disrespect that our community has come to. The gentleman was 62 years old, a deacon in his church, chairman of the deacon board in his church. However, we're gonna be looking into that, and we'll be dealing with that along with South Florida Ministerial Alliance. We're working together to bring justice. Justice doesn't make any difference what color you are. If right is right and wrong is wrong, and we're going to deal with what's right and not what's wrong. But
we had a great forum this week past with South Florida Ministerial with East Point candidates, and we're doing it again on next week as well in the South Florida area. So we're calling for ministers, clergy, get connected to Concerned Black Clergy, get connected to South Fulton Ministerial Alliance, get connected to the DeKalb Pastors Association, the Cobb Pastors. We gotta. There's strength in our numbers, and there's a certain language that we speak as clergy, and that we understand one another. We can strategize and work together to build God's beloved kingdom on earth We need to do it together and get out of silos.
Well, I want to thank you for that because I wanted to also say that we are going to have that forum at St. Stephen's Missionary Baptist Church on the 21st at 6 p.m. for candidates running for Ward C and D. But in addition to that, we are talking to candidates running throughout the city, throughout South Fulton, not just the city of South Fulton, but the South Fulton area,
That's right.
from East Point all the way to Palmetto, Georgia, because we're concerned about the people that's being elected and making sure that they're doing what's right about the people that they have been elected to serve. Well, on that note, one just today, our episodes today will deal with three things. One, we'll deal with the 47 agenda. Brother David Parkman, he's going to be talking about that, the Republicans' agenda to take over and overthrow the government. He's going to be talking about that under the leadership of Donald Trump. He's going to be talking about that. And then we'll have Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, who's talking about getting rid of McCarthy because he is not fulfilling what he had promised them they were going to do, which is a part of the 2025 project. And Parker's going to be talking about that. We're going to come back with Matt Gaetz. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Mr. Biden's son and what he's going through in terms of the charges and the indictment that he is under. We'll be back on the other side after the Cynthia with Shanan and myself, and then we'll have Mr. Parker, David, to talk about the 47 agenda and the 2025 plan in summary.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast or more. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shannon. You all are doing a fine job. I just want you to know that. I don't say it enough, but you all are doing a fine job today. Okay? All right, now listen. I got some news I want to tell you all about. It's revival time at Southwest Church Atlanta, 2390 Niskey Lake Road in Southwest Atlanta, September 19th, 21st, and 22nd at 7:30 p.m. each night. The guest speakers include on Tuesday, Pastor Camille Holmes, on Thursday, Pastor Gregory Pollard, and on Friday, guess what? Our own Bishop Greg Fann will be the guest speaker. That's at Revival at the Southwest Church Atlanta. Flipper Temple AME Church at 580 Atlanta. Flipper Temple AME Church at 580 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard in Southwest Atlanta will hold a music and health screening event. And it's going to be held on October the 7th from 10 to 7. There will be screenings of 7 different conditions. And I tell you, they are invaluable because they include liver and kidney function and diabetes. And so from this one test, they're going to have 7 different results coming out of that. And it is at no cost to you. And there will also be workshops, and there's going to be a concert. And if you'd like to register for the screening, visit Health and Music BFW Screenings.eventbrite.com, or you can call the church at 404-522-5020. And I want to say congratulations to Elder Charles Ransom. He is celebrating his 70th birthday, and he is celebrating 20 years in radio. I knew him back in the day from WYZE, and we've remained friends all this time. And his celebration, depending on when you see this, it may have already happened, but he was celebrating on September the 15th and 16th, 70 years of life and 20 years in the radio. In radio at Church of Atlanta Lighthouse. It's going to be there at 7 p.m. each night. Congratulations, Elder Ransom, and I wish you many, many more good years to come, okay? Now listen, I'd like for you to do, well, first of all, let me tell you, I'd be happy to announce your event. just email it to me at straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. That's straighttalknews1362 at gmail.com. And we'll be happy to get it on. Try to send it in at least 3 to 4 weeks before your event, okay? All right, now listen, there are 4 things I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to what? Like us. And then I'd like for you to subscribe to us. And those buttons are right there on the front of the screen. And number 3, I'd like for you to leave comments. And number 4, I'd like for you to share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, because we are here to stay. And that's Straight Talk News with Bishop Greg Fann and Pastor Shanan Jones and me, Miss C. And we'll see you next time, okay? Bye now. Have a good week.
Well, Miss C. That Miss C, boy,
Yes, see.
you can't beat her in a ring with gloves on. She is something else. She is a character, and all of that. But she is Miss C. She's the original Miss C.
Thank you,
Get that
Miss
news
C.
and information. Get that news and
Thank you, Miss C.
information, Miss
We're
C.
going to like you. We're subscribing right now. We're sharing. We're commenting. We're doing it. We're doing it.
She doing it. She doing it. She got it right this week. But anyway, we to make sure you get your news and information in
One
the
week,
Miss
we
C.
ain't going to get you. 1 week, he's not going to. One of these old weeks, he going to let you get by, Miss C. But it ain't this week. It
It
ain't
ain't
this
this
week. And it
week.
wasn't
No, it's
last
not.
week either.
And it wasn't the week before, and it won't be the week to come. But listen, I just want to say that get your information in the Miss C. And that's to Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com, and she'll get it on and up for you. She really will do that. She said get it to her a couple of weeks in advance if you can, so she'll have it, so she can announce your announcements here on Straight Talk. Well, we want to have Numbers of Parker. He's going to come, Parkman David. He's going to come. He's going to talk about and give us what's really going on the left side with the Republicans and their plan to overthrow the government. And when you hear Mr. Cates in his segment, and when you hear the CNN reporter who's talking to him about why he's so down to get rid of McCartney, he'll mention some of the stuff that they'd agreed to do. To put him in after 15 votes, I believe it was, Shannon. I believe it was after 15 tries. He finally got the job. But now he's not living up to what they felt that he should be doing. That's a part of the 2025 plan and 45 plan. So stay right there. Don't you go nowhere. And here we go with Dave.
About the plan to make Trump dictator that is in Salon, written by our friend Chauncey De Vega. I encourage you to take a look at the article. What I want to impress upon you right now is that the right has a much more specific and actionable plan, if Trump is elected, to make him a de facto dictator than you might know, than you might believe. Chauncey argues in his article that Donald Trump right now in 2023 is effectively a dictator in waiting. He has already started to threaten to put his enemies in prison and to do even worse things to them. He's talking about killing them. Chauncey's article talks about Trump's violent and dangerous behavior. His interview with Glenn Beck, where he says, I would imprison my enemies. Yeah, I'm going to have no choice. Listen, they're doing it to us. We're going to have to do it to them. Of course, there's no evidence that Joe Biden is doing anything when it comes to Trump's criminal charges. Donald Trump has talked about the infrastructure that his advisors are creating, in which he would implement Agenda 47 and Project 2025, and this would make Trump a neo-fascist dictator in the United States. I am rarely hyperbolic on this program. When people call in and say, David, I'm so worried about this or that, is this a problem? I like to say, let's not jump to the apocalyptic scenario yet. But what Chauncey De Vega's article in Salon reminds us is that none of this is speculation. All of this stuff is in writing, and corporate media is not doing a good enough job of acknowledging the violent threats. And by violent, I don't always mean physically violent. I mean ideologically violent to our democracy, to our systems that we have. And what Chauncey DeVega urges people to do is to resist that first and foremost by ensuring that Donald Trump or DeSantis or whoever are not elected in 2024. Now let's talk about Agenda 47 and Project 2025. So many of you wrote to me about this over the last week. First, Agenda 47. Agenda 47, Trump would be the 47th president. That's the whole gist of the number. Agenda 47 is basically the harebrained and dangerous policy proposals that we've heard from Trump sort of over the last year, 9 to 12 months or so. And this includes things like, we'll take all the homeless people from cities, force them out into some camp. If it's in California, it would be in the desert. If it's, I don't know, in the South, it would be in some rural area. This is Trump's idea. We're going to force homeless people into camps, get them out of cities where they are reducing property values. We've talked about why it's crazy and it doesn't work. It wouldn't work. Agenda 47 calls for the death penalty for human traffickers and drug dealers. Trump has talked about that before, and that is another aspect to this. Ending birthright citizenship. You no longer are automatically a citizen if you were born in the United States under this Agenda 47 if you were born to undocumented parents, saying it rewards undocumented immigration. The Agenda 47 would also issue pardons and even a government apology, depending on which version of Trump's speech you look at, to many of the January 6th rioters, which is as crazy an idea as you can imagine. It would require police departments to start doing stop and frisk if they still want to continue receiving certain types of funding. And we've talked about the disaster that is stop and frisk. So that's Agenda 47, and that's bad enough. But then we get to Project 2025. Project 2025 is bigger than Trump, but Project 2025 views Trump as the tool through which it will get itself implemented. The Heritage Foundation played a role in Project 2025. That's a right-wing think tank. It has ties to fossil fuel billionaire Charles Koch. What Project 2025 does is give a set of recommendations. It gives a personnel database and training opportunities, and maybe most importantly, Project 2025 has this 180-day playbook for the incoming president in 2025. Remember, November 24 election, inaugurated January 2025. What happens in those first 180 days or 6 months? And it is absolutely and completely crazy. The point of Project 2025 is to, quote, dismantle the administrative state. This is a phrase many right-wingers repeat it without even really knowing what it means. The idea is, of course, undo the policies of the Biden administration and what they call the radical left that has very little power in the United States. But it does it by decimating or even eliminating many elements of government. Project 2025 would eliminate a whole bunch of the Department of Energy. That is a department, and those are offices that would be critical if we are going to ever transition off of fossil fuels. Why would a Koch-funded organization or plan want to do that? Well, I wonder. It's cynical, personal, financial interests. It would cut renewable energy deployment. It would also push for ending birthright citizenship for U.S.-born people in the U.S. with undocumented parents. It would also issue pardons to many of the rioters. It would also require police departments to implement stop and frisk. Some of what is in Project 2025 violates international law. Project 2025 is also completely unrealistic. So as usual, it is one of these ways of getting people interested through promises that, of course, are never going to be made a reality. So what is the point of telling you all of this? The point is that these are the stakes. They're being clear. We don't have to, the right loves to say, the left won't tell you, but their real goal is to implement some kind of Marxism and to take over this and that and propagandize in this way. And you say, well, where is there evidence of that? And they say, well, you've got to read between the lines. With Project 2025 and Agenda 47, you don't need to read between the lines. If they win in 2024, particularly if Trump wins in 2024, this is what they are going to try to do. Much of it is totally unrealistic. Some of it they might actually be able to accomplish. A theocratic dictatorship based on their view of Christianity is the end goal. It's been clear for years. A shocking number of Americans are fine with it, want it, or are indifferent to it. And if it means that they get more power, they throw the Constitution in the trash. We almost saw them do it in January of 2021 on January 6th. So we know that they will try.
We do know that they will try. We know, Shannon, that they will try. We know. He's absolutely right. And he points out some very, very telling things that I think people don't. They're around the water cooler talking about it, Shannon, but they don't understand that it's a plan. It's a game plan. It's like what they call it, the Green Bay sweep or the Green sweep when they were trying to steal the election, right? These people are organized on the right, and they're hell bent on taking over this country and making Donald Trump a dictator and changing government as it is. When you hear what Matt Gaetz talk about doing away with the Department of Labor, doing away with these departments, doing away with those departments, that's a part of the 2025 project, right? The ability to just fire people at will, that's 25. Bring people in, to train people, to bring people in. Not from the southern states. They said we don't want people from the southern states. We want people from the east, the west, and the north. But we don't want people from the south in government in D.C. That's their plan. They're training people to come up there to take over and run this government and making Donald Trump a dictator, and that's real talk. We'll hear what Matt Gaetz have to say in a minute, Shannon. But I just want to, I wanted to throw that out, and just because people heard it, and I want them to understand why we're showing you this stuff, because this stuff is real. It's no joke. It's no joke. Our democracy, as we know it, is at stake. So we have to vote. We got to get out and vote. We got to vote. We can't get caught up in the rhetoric. We can't get caught up in that. We got to vote like we've never voted before and make sure that we come out in record numbers, that they cannot steal or take the election from the people that we vote for, both local level and the national level. So, I just wanted us to talk a little bit about that tonight, the 2025 plan. If you don't know about it, Google it. Go out on YouTube. You can Google it. You can see it. You can see it yourself, and you can learn more about the Republicans' 2025 plan and playbook to overthrow the government and do away with the Constitution that we now know of the United States of America and create a whole new government.
Steve Bannon said during the campaign in 2016 that they put a plan together, Bishop, to control the presidency for the next 50 years. That was the plan. Trump was the embryo of that plan. So you said to make Trump a dictator, yes, to begin the dictatorship through Trump. But if you listen to that 2025 plan, if you listen to that Project 47, you'll hear that these plans are not just for Trump, but they're putting things in place to be able to run the federal government and control the federal government beyond 2025 and beyond 4 years from 2024 to 2028 and 2032 and 2036 and 2040, all the way up. So they're literally working a plan to be able to hold that power and the purse strings that go with that. And we said it. We said it many times on this air, that Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. You're watching it now. You see Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney saying he's got to go because he's trying to make room for some younger candidates to come in. It's their time. Yeah, Mitt, it's their time. Plus, you probably are not going to get reelected again because the Ronald Reagan Republican Party and the Mitt Romney Republican Party is no longer the party of Trump and the party of Steve Bannon, the party of the 2025, the party of Project 47. And so, so you're seeing a lot of stuff. So if you can't get in line, you got to go. because we ain't gonna fall in love with you. You gonna fall out or fall in.
Well, if you look at what happening, and we'll say it when again I keep referring to Matt Gaetz, but when you see what he's telling McCartney about the impeachment of Joe Biden, and you see how he has flipped the script, and now he's doing inquiries of Biden, and it's nothing now. I know Hunter Biden, they're after Hunter now, and they've got Hunter on these three federal these charges, right? They got him, and he's gonna have to go to court on those charges. But the reality of it is this whole thing they're trying to, as you've said and I've said, is their plan is to control the government, change the Constitution to apply to what they want to see. They are and I know you saw it and other may have saw it and some they said DECA was unconstitutional. That all those kids that were born here in the United States, they got to leave here. So what are they saying is that those people vote. And they see those people moving into political office, like some of those people that are Congress people now, and some of those people that are mayors of cities and city council people and state representatives, state senators. They see them moving into positions of power and positions just like black folks have, and now they want to stop the bleeding and do whatever they can do to stop anybody to be able to be a part of this country. This man said Donald Trump's plan is to go around and take all the homeless people. Now, can you imagine all the homeless people in the United States, put them on a bus, take them out in the desert somewhere in California, and leave them? So that the property values of the inner city will go up, right? So that because you don't have all these homeless people hanging around and what have you. But isn't that inhumane? I mean, to even think like that or to feel like that, But that's where that is, and so.
Isn't it
But I just
unconstitutional?
wanted to, do it now.
Isn't it unconstitutional? But the same bus that they're gonna do that, they got the bus. Don't think they
Right.
just talking. They already got the bus. Eric Adams will tell you they got the bus because they didn't send all them people, all the immigrants from Texas to New York and to Massachusetts and all these. So they got they got the bus. Okay, the bus company that they're talking about doing this with. In other words, I'm just saying that this is not hyperbole. That they're actually working this thing out. I mean, you've been around 1,000 campaigns. Do you knock on the door of a person who doesn't vote when you canvass?
No, not really.
So there's always been a system where you wanted to target voters. Now what they're doing is literally choosing their voters
They're voters.
by
Right.
knocking
That is
off
true.
everything that cultivate this thing, because we got to get this thing connected because America's getting browner and it's changing and we don't have control, and oh my God, next thing you know, it's going to be Jamil and Jamila Crow, not Jim Crow and Jane Crow, but Jamil and Jamila Crow. They're going to be doing to us what we did to them. So if we want to keep this country, then we've got to do by any means necessary. And if it means getting rid of folks to increase property values, if it means deporting folks, if it means locking people up, if it means putting in judges that will do whatever we got to do, we're going to do what we have to do to make
But
sure that we have control and power for the next 50 years. And that's what's at stake here. While folk are in barbershops and whatnot talking about all this crazy stuff, this is
they,
what's
they're
happening.
working
This
their
is what's
plan.
real.
They're working the plan, Shannon. We talked about this months ago when Trump was in office in terms of all those federal judge positions that were vacant that he was able to fill, and he was putting appointing young people in these life-term positions. As long as they live, they can be a federal judge. They may be on the lower level, not the Supreme Court, but they're still a lifetime position, right? So he's appointed them. We talked about how many vacancies there were and how many vacancies he filled, and people are looking at that. Now they can see how that stuff is affected based on what we see that's going on in the courts now. In the courts,
Yeah. Yeah, and they're going to run it
so
by statutory law. They're going to run
they
it by
are
the court. It's an American apartheid. They're going to run it through the judges and whatnot that they put in place. Look at what the
absolutely,
judges have done this week. Look at what has been just this week. Look at what's been deemed unconstitutional. And look at what's going
absolutely.
on. You're going to see more and more and more of that. And I told you, I said this to you, and you didn't push back at me. You agreed, or you didn't push back at me. I told you, and I told Straight Talk audience, I told y'all, this Hunter Biden thing, this thing is
It's
going to
coming.
get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And McCarthy, I want to hear Matt Gaetz, but McCarthy, what does it profit a Speaker of the House to gain the House of Representatives and lose your soul? This man went through, I think it was 12, 15,
15 votes.
15 votes to finally be, and they merely, they took him from Mighty Mouse to Mickey Mouse. Okay, they took him from Mighty Mouse to Mickey Mouse, and by the time he was speaker, he had no cape, he had no no M on his chest, he had no ability to fly. They broke him all the way down to Mickey Mouse, and all he could do was Millie and Mouse say, and then just one out of 435 congresspersons, just one person can stand up and challenge you, and you'll be over. So what Gates and them are doing, this is the contract. So I saw what he said today, using the F-bomb word, saying,
Right.
call, push the F in motion and all that stuff. Man, you sold your soul. And they coming back. They coming back with the soul that what you sold. They coming to repo it. They repoing it. They repoing your soul. That's what they
Well,
about to do. It's a tow truck
listen.
in Washington. It's a tow truck. Matt Gaetz them driving a tow truck, and they're gonna come and take the speakership from him
Wait a
if
minute.
he
Hold
don't
on for
want
a minute.
Trump.
Hold on a minute, Shannon. Don't blow your stack. Don't blow your stack. Let Mac do it. Hey, come.
This House Speaker is now greenlighting an investigation into Biden without any evidence of wrongdoing. And in moments, I'll speak with the thorn in McCarthy's side, that is Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's threatening to oust the Speaker, in part over this issue. But first, some context. Republicans, they want to know if President Biden benefited from his son's business dealings. And that is a legitimate question. But the DOJ did spend years investigating Hunter Biden, and so far there has been no evidence that his father did benefit. Meantime, House Republicans in their investigations have presented zero direct evidence to contradict that. Also, McCarthy is doing this now unilaterally, without even a vote, even though Kevin McCarthy himself from 11 days ago disagreed with that method. Quote, if we move forward with an impeachment inquiry, it would occur through a vote on the floor of the People's House, not through a declaration by one person. And just 4 years ago, McCarthy attacked Democrats for doing the same, both on Twitter and right here on camera.
Speaker Pelosi happens to be the Speaker of this House, but she does not speak for America when it comes to this issue. She cannot decide unilaterally what happens here. She cannot change the laws of this Congress. She cannot unilaterally decide we're in an impeachment inquiry.
And just a note on that, the then Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, she did eventually hold a vote on an impeachment inquiry. So why is McCarthy caving now? Well, perhaps because of Congressman from Florida, Matt Gaetz.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you.
So you'll remember that nasty Speaker election back in January. One of the many concessions that McCarthy made then to the far right of his party was to make it easier to boot him from his own job. And joining me now is Congressman Matt Gaetz. He's a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Thanks for being here, Congressman. First, I want to start with this. You're making some pretty serious threats against Speaker McCarthy's speakership. But let's be honest, it sounds like you don't have the votes.
The votes for what, Abby? To remove McCarthy? I acknowledge that, and I would suggest that when we first had the contest for Speaker, neither did he, but over the course of 15 ballots, it's amazing what can happen. So, look, my job is to see that the deal that we made in January is enforced. That's not about impeachment specifically. It's about oversight work, but it's principally about spending. McCarthy committed to have 12 individual appropriations bills passed. We don't seem on pace to do that, and I'm deeply concerned that he hasn't been faithful to that commitment.
If you do trigger this motion to vacate and it does fail, as it sounds like you think it will, don't these threats end up losing all credibility moving forward?
Well, it had a good deal of credibility today. I announced last evening that I'd be making a speech at noon today, and in somewhat of a rushed fashion, the Speaker gave a speech at 11, and while that was a baby step, I think, in the right direction, it certainly is not linked to the concerns that we have about spending, government funding running out, and the passing of a continuing resolution that advances a lot of the goals and priorities that Republicans ran against.
So do you think that McCarthy should shut down the government to save his job here?
I don't think the choice is one or the other. I think that there are certainly agencies of government like the Department of Education and Department of Labor and probably a few others that I'd be willing to get rid of in pretty large fashion and devolve those powers to the states and reorganize them. But if we just had compliance, with a vote on term limits, a vote on a balanced budget, individual spending bills, I do think Speaker McCarthy could save his job and not even face a motion to vacate if he came into compliance with our deal.
Blaming McCarthy for taking baby steps, he said that he would open an impeachment inquiry. But your colleagues, including Congressman Ken Buck, have said that there is no evidence linking President Biden to these allegations. Listen to what he said just a few minutes ago on CNN.
I have not seen any evidence that links President Biden to Hunter Biden's activities. I think it was a mistake to start talking about the impeachment inquiry. I think it's a good thing that we aren't voting on it on the floor, because we've got a lot of work to do if we're going to pass a continuing resolution by September 30th and avert a government shutdown.
Matt Gaetz may come to the floor in a matter of moments, and we'll see what he does, but there's some talk about introducing a vacating the chair resolution. What's your message to folks who are trying to oust him and try to actually force that vote on the floor?
I'm going to say that's going to fail, and I don't support it. And Matt Gaetz is a dear friend of mine. He's one of my top allies, and I'll always call him a friend. He and I are aligned on most issues, but I'm not aligned with a motion to vacate the chair, and I'm not aligned for this. What I'm for is Republicans coming together and accomplishing an agenda that serves Americans and Americans first.
All right, she's with a put an agenda to put Americans and Americans first. Boy, did you hear Marjorie? Did you hear Marjorie?
Tell a lie, I heard her.
She's not with Matt. Matt's one of her bestest friends.
Not on this one.
Well, I tell you.
Not when I'm sitting pretty with the Speaker.
When we listen to this part is so divided. It really is divided. I think someone said this best. I think the Republican Party has lost its way in terms of the things that they're doing to try to reshape and remold this country to what they want to see it be. And I remember, and we did this some months ago, maybe a couple of years ago, when Johnny Eisner retired. And Johnny Eisner was saying that when he came there as a Republican, but he worked with Democrats on bipartisan issues. They're not really to work together on issues that benefit the American people. It looks like this is what their agenda is, this is what they're going for, and they're trying to send homeless people to California and put them out in the desert, drop them off anywhere, send foreign people back to their other countries if their mother and father was not naturalized here, cut out programs or jobs and those kinds of things that benefit the American people, do away with unions that work for the benefits of working and worker family. All of these things that they want to do away with benefit people, benefit people. And so I'm concerned. I am really concerned that they're doing it as David said, is they're doing it under the name of Christ, as they're doing it as Christians, as believers in God. But God doesn't teach us to hate our fellow man. He said, love your fellow man and do unto others you have them do unto you. That's the strict Bible I read, right? So, I mean, but the very actions that they're taking, many of them, is to do just to the contrary. Now, I don't know if you've been keeping up with how many Congress people who are saying they're not running again. They're not going to be a part of this anymore. They're just not going to run anymore. And I know you said Mitt Romney said he's not going to run for senator because, and I could understand because, when you are one of those kind of individuals, well, yeah, I'm with the party, but when the party is wrong, the party is wrong. And when the party is right. But what they should have done, and you and I know, we don't disagree on this, is that when Trump was going left, and they were upholding him in his wrongness just because he was a Republican, they should have done the right thing to benefit the American. It wasn't about Democrats or Republicans. I'm neither one. I'm about what is in the best interest of the American people, not the party. Party politics is running this country. It's got to be what's in the best interest of the American people. Because if they deal it to them, guess what? They're going to do it to you. First, they came for so-and-so, and they got them. Then they came for this person, they got them. And next, wasn't nobody left but me. Then they came
And you
for
didn't
me.
say nothing.
So,
You didn't speak up because you weren't them. You weren't the
do what
trade
now?
union. You didn't speak up because you weren't the trade unionist, or you weren't a Jew, or you weren't one of the others, that the teachers that they came for, and then they came for you, and there was nobody left to speak up for you. Martin Niemöller said that, and that's what you're seeing being played out tonight.
And I want to say this to the preachers too. And we have to stand up. We have to stand up for the people God has put under our leadership as shepherds to look over the flock and take care of the flock. He said, whatever you do unto the least of them, you do also unto me, right? Or people don't like for me to say this stuff, but it's the Bible in itself. Say if you don't, you're going to hell. And some people just don't believe in hell. But, I believe that there's a heaven and I believe that there's a hell. Many of us profess that, but do we really believe that? But if you love your neighbor as yourself, then we wouldn't be going through all the things that we're going through, because it's not about Republicans, it's not about Democrats, it's about God's people. And it's how we're dealing with God's people. People should be enraged to hear that Donald Trump wants to take homeless people and send all of them out on a desert somewhere. I mean, really? I mean, that sounds like some neo-Nazi stuff, right? I mean, really just take people and just put them out on an island somewhere and just leave them out there to fend for themselves, right? I mean, and when he said homeless people, guess what? Now, homeless people I see, they're of all race and all hues.
Oh yeah, this is not about. No, this ain't about no black folk. Black Lives Matter. It's not about that. That's not what they saying. This is what they saying. That you have no. If you're homeless and if you're poor, then you have no value to the rich, wealthy property owners. And so we're going to move you out to protect personal property. And they don't care what race you are, because they've written you a certain amount of whites, whatnot. They just written them all as a permanent underclass, because they've written the black community off as a permanent underclass. And as they're cultivating and finding pockets, geographical voting areas that they can use to keep winning elections over and over again, and gerrymandering. What's happening at the Capitol on yesterday, in terms of the gerrymandering, watching the gerrymandering and looking at the unconstitutionality of these maps. That's a threat to what it is that they're trying to do, because they're trying to run this thing through the courts and through the legislature. They want to run county government through the legislature. They want to get rid of district attorneys through the legislature.
I mean, but see, that kind of stuff people need to be aware of. Let's just talk about our DA in Fulton County, Fanny Willis. They
Excuse
trying to
me.
get rid of her because she's indicting Donald Trump and 18 co-conspirators in the election, right?
Right.
So, but then you have, and I guess that's why they don't want people from the South to be in D.C. because you got a governor who says, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take out of office." Our policy is that for people who are not indicting, she is indicting him for a crime that we all believe that he committed. He and his co-conspirators, right?
Yeah.
You know, this whole thing for me is I don't see why we sit up here and acquiesce and act like we don't see what's going on. It's time to get away from around the water cooler. It's time to get your hands dirty. It's time to get out here and speak out against these things that we see that are wrong, and register people to vote yourself, and then help educate people on what's really going on. And a lot of people don't know what's going on because the black preacher used to be the catalyst for telling the people what was going on. But they ain't even trying to figure out what's going on themselves because they caught up in their own island or kingdom, right? So they're not really focused on what is really going on. Your organization as well as our organization, that's what we do. And that's why we stay abreast of what the issues are that's going on, and trying to help educate people on these issues so that they will be abreast, so that our people cannot perish for a lack of what? Knowledge.
Now,
Because that's why we're in the position we're in, because we're perishing for a lack of knowledge, because what we're doing fighting over the crumbs from the rich man's table, and the rich man just throwing the crumbs over here and throwing the crumbs over there. Y'all go ahead and fight for it. Y'all gonna fight for it. It ain't nothing but crumbs. Ain't nothing but crumbs. Just gonna fight for it and kill each other, and destroy each other. Talk about people to try to destroy your own people, to put scandals out on your own people, do this to your own people, destroy, because see what happens is you destroy them, then they're gonna come back and destroy you. So and you can see it just as plain as day. And we got to stop buying into this narrative of what's going on and get knowledge about what we need to know and help educate people on what's really going on. And I would say to you, if you do not know about the 2025 project, you'll hear Shanan and I talking more and more about it, because it's real. It's real. The play to overtake government and do away with our democracy and do away with the Constitution and have it totally controlled by a dictator, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's what's his name, DeSantis, whoever it may be, that who they have chosen to be their dictator, or to run this country the way they want it ran. So, brothers and sisters, do get involved. Do understand this is real. This ain't nothing but what? Straight talk.
no,
Shannon?
no, that's it, man. You said it all. You said it.
Well, if I said it, then I'm going to let it go, and then I'm going to zip it. And then I'm going to do like you. I'm going to say, like us. I'm going to say, share. I'm going to say, make comments. And I'm going to say, subscribe. I'm going to do it different than Miss C. Like us, share, make comments, and subscribe. Until next week, you ain't been tuning in nothing but Straight Talk, and do share this with your friends, and check out more Straight Talk with yours to the great Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922@comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.